everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it, and it is a special day. The friendly neighborhood mail lady has delivered. She has hooked a brother up in conjunction with my good friend, who I've never even met before, Jared Waters at Centipede Press. They delivered a limited edition version of my absolute favorite book that I've ever read in my life, and that is Pat Frank's Alas Babylon. It's here. It's in this big box, this oversized box. It's actually not that huge, but Centipede Press loads them up. And Alas Babylon, like I said, one of my very favorite books, but I've never had a really great special edition of it. I've got this ex-library, first edition, first print, hardcover, U.S. copy, and I've got this copy, well, that's from Lippincott, and then I've got this copy right here from Constable. Looking good, but very, very regular. This will be a UK first edition-ish. I bought it from Australia. But that's it. There is an Eastern Press version, but they want way too much money for it, in my opinion, on the eBay when it comes available for sale. It was part of a set. I think it was part of a set of 5 or 6 different post-apocalyptic type books. They've got spines that create a different image, and I just never have bought it. But Centipede Press has delivered, and it's here. And let's open it up, take a look, and see what she looks like. Centipede is one of my very favorite publishers on God's green earth. They do fabulous stuff, Jared at Centipede Press there. And they have quite a variety, from horror that you've never heard of, that I've never heard of, to famous stuff, from $60 limited editions to $300-$400 limited editions, maybe more. I don't know, maybe more than that. So they've got quite a range of books, and I'm just glad that they decided to publish this one. And Alas Babylon, it is a post-apocalyptic book, but it's not really horror. You can see a great big box wrapped in bubble wrap. Sometimes you get some interesting stuff. Yeah, interesting stuff here in the packaging from Centipede Press. Rip it. So what do I got? The label was printed on the back of this. Agreed. In retrospect, there are websites out there that claim of the 36 or 38 things of his that have been done, it's always in the top 5. It still lives. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's a conversation I need to get involved in. But what I came here to see, what I cannot wait to see, what I'm looking forward to is getting all this bubble wrap, the bubble wrap that does good pops. Good pops. Get that out and show you my signed numbered edition of my favorite book, Alas Babylon. I read this book for the first time in grade school. And so here I've got this very sharp blade on my Leatherman knife, and I've got to get this shrink wrap off. Don't leave the books in plastic is what the internet tells us, and I don't do it. I like to get it out anyway. But I got to cut this shrink wrap off, and this is my precious, I just told you, it's my favorite book. And now the only limited edition version of this book that I own. I've never owned a limited edition version of this book, but I got this very sharp knife so close to my book, and that worries people, and that's a nervous thing. But I don't worry, because I have a foolproof method for getting it out, and that is that I cut the plastic. I don't cut the book. Sound words of advice coming your way. But this one is Sheridan. So sometimes these books, I guess that would be the actual manufacturer of the book, the binder, the printer, I don't know. And it is book number 171. And I don't remember. I think there were 500 limited edition copies. But let me show you again with the shrink wrap off what the book looks like. And the artwork on the dust jacket does look great. And I got to tell you, it looks fabulous. It looks so good. Who is the artiste? Let's see here. I should know. The artiste, illustrated by David Ho. And this David Ho dust jacket looks so good. Now, I said I got to tell you, I got off on a tangent for a moment. But I got to tell you, it looks great, but I don't understand it. Having read the book 4 or 5 times, I don't understand this cover illustration. I would love it if somebody could clue me in, because the book is special to me. And I'd like to know that I can somehow buy into this front cover artwork. Taking it literally, there's no young adult mentioned in the book who puts a gun to his head to commit suicide, what looks like a Browning high power double action semi-automatic handgun. Nobody fits this description in a suicide situation. And in the town of Fort Repose, it's not really a town that would have these skyscraper type buildings. Now, there are plenty of cities mentioned, and I think I get it. I think I might. I don't know. There's probably a lot of people on Earth that put the gun to their head after a nuclear bomb started falling. I don't know. But can somebody clue me in? Chat me up. Help me understand, because I love the book, and I want to understand the artwork as well. Anyway, that being said, it looks so good. And there's more. Wait, there's more. But first I want to stretch it out so you can see this full size dust jacket artwork all unfolded. And we'll talk a little bit about the book here in a minute. If you haven't read it, it is one that I do recommend. I read it for the first time, I think, at the age of 13. It was assigned to me in high school, and I was not one that loved. You can see that embossed cover on the black cloth, and then there's our spine, the blind hot foil stamping, and then looks like black also. The mushroom cloud. But their books just look so good with the dust jacket off, with the dust jacket on, either way. And our end papers, man, the end papers are fabulous. Looks so good. I'm excited to have it in hand. I've been waiting for this for a while now, waiting to get it, to finally have a special edition version of my favorite book, The Last Babylon by Pat Frank. There were some bonus materials included, and I was curious about that. But before we do, I want to go to the signature page. Centipede Press, on their signed versions, has the signature page in the back, and Pat Frank has long since passed. And I do have a book signed by Pat Frank. It's not A Last Babylon, and it is personalized. But I bought a book of his, signed by him, just so I would have a Pat Frank signature. And there you can see our signature page. It is signed by David Brin, David Ho, and Michael Furlong. This is number 171 of 500 copies. And since I'm here, some more of this artwork inside. Some great looking stuff in here. So we've got the end papers on the back. So you've got sprayed top edge stain, a built-in ribbon page marker. You can see the Smith-sewn quality binding, and it is a nice cloth covered boards like usual with Centipede Press. But I wanted to go over more of the table of contents. It's illustrated by David Ho. We have an introduction by David Brin, author of the Postman, right? He wrote The Postman? Yes, he wrote The Postman and others, but I happen to have a copy right here of The Postman sitting on the shelf. Afterword by Michael Furlong. And what else? In here, there were some bonus materials mentioned. Some short stories. I think it said 6. Right here, there are 8. Bonus materials. Midget's Moon. Stranger in the Sky, Pentagon Spy, The Empty Desert, In Empty Hands, The Girl Who Almost Got Away, The Christmas Bogey, Prexy Was a Pinup, and Russian Agent, and then the afterword, The Secret of A Last Babylon by Michael Furlong. And I've never read a Pat Frank short story. I've read 3 of his novels, A Last Babylon being my favorite. But I like the author, and I probably need to dig a little bit deeper into his catalog of writings as the author of my favorite book. But let's look through here. I'd like to show you a little bit more about the book, what all is included. We talked about the some more artwork here. artwork here for the book, but here's some covers. Hey, the first two you see are the first two that I just showed you. And then some soft cover editions. And I once had a junky, ratty soft cover version, looked like that one here. I don't have it anymore. I probably got rid of it, I don't know, at some point. Some of these, some good looking covers. I like that when Jared does that, showing cover and other types of artwork from early editions of his books. And one of the special things about Centipede Press, not only that they make great special edition books, illustrated, things like that, high quality stuff, but they really focus on the history of storytelling and the history of the stories themselves. So you don't just get the book, you get a bit about the book. You get pictures of early editions and stuff like that. Is very cool. It tells you more than just the story itself. They give you the story of the story, which was great. And so if you're going to read this edition, here's what you're going to see. You see the page color is a little bit off-white. The text size is about average for a hardcover edition. It's not big. It's not small by any means. It looks good. It looks easy to read. The paper is good quality paper. It feels good in the hand. And I'm looking here for these additional interior illustrations. And while we're doing that, see if I can do two things at once. Alas, Babylon is a story set in the late 50s. And a fellow by the name of Randy Bragg living in a fictional town in what I think would be sort of northeast Florida along the St. Johns River called Fort Repose. And Randy Bragg's older brother is in a high position in the United States military, a position of intelligence, gets early warnings that a nuclear threat is imminent. And at the same time, through what was sort of an error by a fighter pilot, a nuclear war is started, and pretty much the majority of the world is destroyed. And there are pockets of places where people live. Everybody on Earth is not dead and incinerated, but the big cities are all gone. And so there are pockets throughout the world. Some countries are left relatively unscathed. Superpowers in the end are now the smaller countries that didn't seem important enough to bother attacking in the war. Now they're left as these superpowers, and United States and Russia are left to ruin. But this is a story hyper focused on this small town in Fort Repose and the community there. So Randy Bragg, he's ex-military. He's living off of a little bit of money that his family farm brings and some stuff like that, living in the family home on River Road. And his brother gives him the Iggy that they've got this code word. The title is called Alas, Babylon. And there's this code word that they had come up with as youths, that was from their childhood, where they would sneak into the black church there in town, and they would listen to the preacher. I think his name was Preacher, what was his name? I forgot his name. They would listen to this preacher, and he was a doom and gloom. He was an end of times, apocalyptic type of preacher. And he would always end sentences when he was in his apocalyptic mode with, Alas, Babylon. And so the boys, Randy and his brother, they associated it with the end of time, Revelation, the bad stuff, the stuff at the end. I already showed you the signature page there. They would associate it with that. And so they decided that when things get bad, that code word would be used to indicate that this is the end. Get ready. And so he got that message from his brother, Alas, Babylon. And his brother kind of explained to him what was going on, what the deal was. And he arranged for Randy's sister-in-law and niece and nephew to go stay with Randy, for Randy to go pick him up in Orlando at the airport, to go stay with them. And the war happens, And the town of Fort Repose is left unscathed. Although the whole state of Florida ends up being declared a radiated zone, a bad spot because there's so many bombs that fell in the state of Florida. But due to just some lucky natural things, the town of Fort Repose was pretty much left unscathed from the nuclear fallout and stuff. And so these people, this community, they have to go on. And they deal with life after electricity and pumping refined gasoline out of the ground, and grocery stores with food. Life after all of that stuff. They deal with things like bandits who are trying to take what people got and kill people for no good reason other than they want your stuff. And they have to come together as a community. And of course, part of the community is a little bit closer. And we're mostly focused on Randy and his neighbors and his friends and things like that. We're mostly focused on that. But they find a way to address each challenge as it comes. Different people doing different things, coming through in different ways. Children having to become adults overnight. And things like black and white don't matter. And people use their skills and their advantages and things like that to better themselves in that community there. And also dealing with, like I said, the stuff from bad people doing bad things. But ultimately, I think what makes it something special to me is that nature of them finding ways to address day by day each problem as they come, coming together as a community and figuring out what's best for us. How do we survive? What do we have to do for us to get by? People looking out for each other. That be your brother's keeper sort of a thing. It comes into play here. And then also the opposite, the bad stuff, the bad things that some people will do, and the bad nature that some people may exhibit in times of crisis. But I've loved this book from the very first time I read it, and I've read it over and over, and I love it more every time I read it. It's something that somehow hits home to me deep inside. And it always does, every time. So for me, it's a special book. It's the book that showed me that reading can be a wonderful thing. Reading for pleasure, reading for fun. I didn't want to read the book. It was assigned to me, and I kind of got in a situation where I had no choice but to read it. And it proved to me that reading can be good. It can be a good thing. And I've become a reader over my life. In part because of what this book proved to me as a teenager, that it can be good, it can be fun, it can be enjoyable, it can maybe change your life, man. But Last Babylon, I can't say enough good things about it. My absolute favorite book. I'm glad that Centipede Press has addressed it, has given me, they didn't give it to me, I bought it. $80, I think it was $80, limited to 500 copies, and there's still copies available for sale. So I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. Check it out, man. And please, if you got any clues onto what this means, chat me up. Let me know. Help me to understand it, because it means something to me. Knowing what it means something to me. Anyway, thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and I can think of no more lies to tell. So, as they say in Brooksville, c'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo.